Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Boom! What's going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon, Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real.
And we might have an audio issue. I don't know, just based on what just happened with the intro there. I don't know if you guys heard it, but we heard it, but it came through my computer.
Which is not
how it's supposed to go. So we're going to figure that out. If you guys are watching and you can hear, just let us know. If not, also let us know.
Hold on. There we go.
Okay. So, yeah. So we're here. What's going on, everybody? It's been a fun week.
It's been a week, I'll tell you that.
It's definitely been a week. Okay, cool. We can be heard. All right, perfect. That is what matters. Thank you, DA Exotics. We appreciate it. Yep, can hear you. Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you guys so much. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so this week, Rob and I are going to be talking about Expos.
That's right. We did an a episode previously, just saying like experiences we exposed, but recently one of the particular expos in the country has been getting called out pretty how do I say this gently?
Not gently.
Ruthlessly. Yeah, like they've been getting dogged. And you know what? I'm here to say it's probably with some merit, you know. There are definitely some serious concerns that have been brought up to me and to many people in the community regarding that particular string of expos. But there are also, on the other side of the fence, some really great shows around the country that, we encourage people to go to. And if you're listening to this, you probably have heard of NARBC shows. They got the Tinley, they got Arlington, they got a couple different shows around the country. The Show Me shows have been coming up. Those have been really great, and they're actually coming to New England, which is I'm pretty excited for. Yes. They're going to be coming to Rhode Island, I believe. And let's see what other the Herps shows down in the central part of the United States are really good. California's got super shows and stuff like that. So
yeah, and here's an interesting one that I just learned too. The Mid-Atlantic show, which used to be like the big show like in Maryland, in the Maryland area. Mm-hmm. They're having their first North Carolina show.
Oh,
I think at the end of this month.
That's
I think if I
awesome.
remember. So
I wish I could be there.
I know, that's really cool. So for those who might not know kind of the history of Expos, the Mid-Atlantic show was like one of the shows back Expos were like first kind of happening and kind of gaining popularity. The Mid-Atlantic show was one of the shows that you went to. So it's recently become more of like a regional show. It's cool to see that show expand to a bit of a different territory, which is cool. Yeah. So shout out to the Mid-Atlantic show for their growth.
So wait, where's the furthest show that you've gone to in the U.S.?
Daytona. Yeah. I've never done any shows out west. I want to go to a super show. I know we were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that the other day.
Show would be great. Yeah, so I definitely want to hit a super show at some point. But yeah, since that has not happened yet, Daytona would be the furthest one for me. How about you?
I've been to Daytona before in 2009. And that was fun. Can't even believe that 12 years now since then? Are you kidding me? Kidding me? It's a different lifetime ago.
Yeah.
I went to the Daytona show. I've been to the Orlando show when they used the fire show out there. That was really cool. I've done the Pennsylvania show a ton of times. They've done Tinley, and then all the New England shows and some of the New York shows and stuff.
Boom. There you go. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've lived in the Northeast my entire life. I have never made it down to a Hamburg show.
That's sad.
Ever.
I mean,
no. So let me explain. So for those of us in the Northeast, Hamburg is certainly a staple show. So here's been my problem. Usually when the show happens, I'm out of town, or when I'm in town, it's the one in the middle of
the
summer,
you don't go to that
and
show.
you don't go to that
You
show
don't go to
unless
that
you're
one.
cool with big, fat, stinky rednecks.
Just sweating against you, just like you can feel the slime.
Yeah, you don't go to that show. So
Yeah.
I don't go to that show.
Not the what do they have, the August one or the June one? You don't go to that.
You don't
one.
go to that one. Yeah,
Do
no.
not go to that.
Nope. So
pretty
yeah. So no PA show.
Yeah, no, not happening.
I did vend a show in the Poconos, which is in PA years ago. I don't even know if that show still exists. But I did that show with Adam Harris, and it was an interesting show. It was a decent sized show for kind of being in the middle of the mountains. I was surprised that it wasn't the most trafficked show, but it was still a great show. I want to definitely highlight this comment really quick that somebody said. I volunteer at the U.S. Arc table for my local show every month. Natalie's
Thank you,
Reptiles.
Natalie's
that is
Reptiles.
massive. Thank you for
appreciate
doing
that.
Absolutely. So yeah, so there's plenty of shows still gotta go.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's safe to say we'll both be at Daytona.
We will. I've already got a room booked up, and Daytona is in the books for me. So if you are going to be at Daytona show,
come say hi to us.
Say hi to us. Maybe get a Reptile Talk sticker.
Yes,
maybe.
I will try to remember to bring those.
Maybe. I'll take them and then I'll just put them in my bag, and that way when I go down there,
Perfect.
They'll be in my bag. So I'll forget to take them out of my bag.
That's true. I'll forget to put them somewhere. Rob will forget to take them out of somewhere.
Yeah,
so it all works
bag,
out.
It'll be there. So I'm super pumped for that because it's been a minute since. It feels like everyone who used to go to Tinley has been amped up to go to Daytona this year, and I think it's gonna get crazy. Just people are ready to get out and socialize, and Daytona is such a huge expo for meeting people. That's the place that I met Tracy Barker and got to talk to her about blood pythons a little bit. Got to meet people like Mark Kirkpatrick there. Last time I went, Keith McKee, had a table down there. Last time I went, Brian Barczyk had a table there.
Oh wow!
I got a picture from back then. He's got no tattoos. He's a different person.
He's a totally different person. Yeah, when I was in Daytona, I think that was 2014 when I was there, and that's when I first met Tom Crutchfield. That was really cool. Tom Crutchfield and Ron Tremper were the two highlights.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was the two highlights for the show. Actually, I think that was also the first time I met Phil Goss in person.
Really?
I think I had talked with him a little bit, but it was the first time I had actually met him in person. So Daytona is definitely a great show to get out to. It's a show about ball pythons.
It is now, yeah.
But as with most shows, but it's cool. You get to hang out with a lot of awesome people. And the last time
on a beach, if you get bored of the reptiles, I don't know who.
Go to the beach.
Mean, I can't get bored of the reptiles.
Yeah,
but if you get bored of the reptiles or talking to the reptile people, go across the street. Literally walk across the street, go past the hotel, and you are on Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
Like
it doesn't get much better than that.
Doesn't get better than that. I mean, I'm not even a crazy beach person, but I still went and hung out on the beach when I went to Daytona.
Absolutely. And I'm excited because when I was there in 2014, I was there with some friends who were vending. So I was working a table. So I didn't really I walked around a little bit, but it's different when you're a vendor because you're like, oh, okay, I saw this person's here. I got to make sure I go see that person and this person. And then that's all I got to do. So this time to go down and just be kind of hanging out. I'm actually pretty excited for that. I get to walk around, and I'm excited to see. I think Steve Tillis might be there. I think.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That'd be really awesome. So, I think maybe we can do a podcast episode.
That is going to get too wild. I know that the Herpetoculture podcast guys are going to be down there, and they're going to
podcast inception,
dude. Yeah, and then I was just listening to NPR the night before, and they were saying that they might even go down there too. And I'm just saying
the podcast. Look, the cool kids
table. If we don't get a picture with all those people,
and
then I think Dominique DeFalco is going to be there too.
Heck yeah!
The Modern Medusa podcast. That'd be pretty sweet.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a great time. I'm super excited. It's just an awesome time to be going to these larger shows with, COVID finally kind of on the run.
I'm vaccinated. That's all I'm saying.
Same. So
vaxxed and waxed and ready to relax. Yeah, I'm not waxed. I know.
No.
I did do my eyebrows today.
Yes, bitch.
You know, went to the gym this morning too.
Amazing. Damn. Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really awesome that that the world is kind of resetting itself, getting back to some sense of normalcy. I was just down in North Carolina yet again for a show this past weekend, and that was cool. It's nice to be traveling for music again, so I'm pretty excited about that. So now that everything's kind of happening and opening up, I'm pretty grateful for all the wonderful opportunities that are coming up. So I think there's a lot of people that are pretty much on the same page, like, "Ooh, I can finally go outside and do things
and
so,
see people and talk to them without a mask on."
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't really matter in Florida because you can't catch COVID in Florida anyway.
Listen here.
I mean, that's what I've been told throughout the entire pandemic, is it doesn't really exist in Florida. But no, okay, all right, cool, Rob.
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm just saying, I'm trying to convince Will Nace to go to Daytona.
That would be cool. I could understand why he wouldn't want to go.
I mean, yeah, but if we're gonna be there,
I think it'd be pretty cool if he came.
Yeah, if we're gonna be there, he needs to be there. So
even if he just makes an appearance and shows up, it's like, "Hey, what's up?" and then leaves.
Yeah, and then leaves. Yeah, it would be great for him to drive 7 hours or whatever it is.
We don't talk about that.
Oh, shout out to Will Nace. But yeah, so Expos are just great, and I'm super excited to be able to hit the Tinley/Schoenberg show in October. I'll be at that one.
I really want to go to that. I haven't decided whether or not it's going to be in the cards for me just yet.
Yeah.
I want to make it happen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I am very excited, and also cool thing for Daytona. It's Lucas's birthday. Lucas, who we just had, it's his weekend, his birthday weekend that weekend. Lucas, who we just had on last week.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah, buddy. So we getting lit. I mean, as lit as you can get for a 17-year-old's birthday party.
We're gonna go see Rated R movie. What's
up? He's drinking root beer.
Hey, I'm drinking root beer too. Hey, don't knock the IBC. I'm just saying.
I'm drinking all their drinks. Oh man, Greg's Reptile Studio just hit us with our first super chat.
Hey.
That's absolutely wonderful. What up, fam? I would love to get to some shows. I'm starting a reptile rescue in Connecticut, so meeting peeps would be good for spreading the word. That's awesome, dude. Absolutely. So go check out Greg's Reptile Studio and give him some support for starting a reptile rescue.
Reptile rescues, they do not get enough attention for the work that they do because it's a thankless job. You often get in animals that are not in great condition, animals that got abandoned, things like that. And you put all this work into it. And then, you ask people for a small rehoming fee just to offset the cost of you taking care of the animal, making sure it's healthy for the next person. And people are like, well, you're just taking animals and it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, reptile rescues end up with a lot of stuff that, red-eared sliders and, bearded dragons with metabolic bone disease and all these things. That,
it's not just like taking an animal in. And
no, a lot of people who are like, I want to start a reptile rescue. They're like, I just want to get a bunch of cool animals for free. And it's like, no. People like Greg
not what it is.
Care and they are taking in just whatever animal comes to them.
Absolutely. And another super chat
from Jay Muller.
Jay Muller's in the house. What's up, Jay Muller?
Cannot wait to see her.
I know she's coming at the end of this month. So this reminds me, thank you to Greg and Jay Muller. My channel recently got monetized.
Oh, damn.
And part of that is thanks to all of you guys who check out the podcast.
And tuning in.
So you can now send us money for all of the podcast episodes we've already done that you loved so much. No, but if you feel so inclined, feel free to super chat and we'll have it pop up and we'll respond to you guys. And I try to watch the comments while we're talking too, but it sometimes gets a little crazy depending on what we're talking about. So, but if you super chat it shows up as this big colorful blob on my side screen here. So I am immediately drawn to that. So thank you guys for that. I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, Expos, we've talked about Expos in the past, like we were saying, and the kind of role that they play in the industry. And it's kind of hard to imagine a time where there weren't reptile Expos, but it's true. At some point there were no reptile Expos. And I would tell you should check out the Checking In podcast where Brian was kind of talking about the history of reptile Expos and what they were like before mainstream reptile show that we know today, when it was literally like a whole bunch of guys got hotel rooms and you walked around to the different hotel rooms and checked out what people had on display, like on the dresser in the hotel room. It's kind of an interesting part of history compared to where reptile shows are at now. And if you've been to any show like Tinley or Daytona and you see these huge extravagant displays and everything, it's hard to imagine that at some point that didn't really exist. Like,
yeah, for
it
real.
was literally some deli cups on the dresser in a hotel room.
And it's hard to believe that it wasn't like, oh, I've got these Reptile Basics clear. It's like, no, there was actual deli cups and Tupperware containers. I remember one of the first expos that I went to was just like actual Tupperware containers from the grocery store that people just poked holes in.
Like
and
Chinese food containers.
Almost. What was the first expo that you went to?
The first expo I ever went to was a White Plains show.
Oh wow, that's
actually.
a big one.
Yeah, it was a big one. Bam! Thank you, Misfits, Reptiles and Aquatics. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Definitely, thank you. Yeah, that was a big show. It was the first show I'd ever done. As myself, my mom, and I think our friend Lisa went down, and we got lost. Following the GPS.
Oh no.
We got lost. But we made it, and it was a fun show. I had a horrendous asthma attack, but it was good times. It was good times. I wanted to procure pygmy chameleons at that show, which I successfully did. So I was very, very excited about that. But yeah, it was an interesting show experience. And then I did the Manchester show and the Mass show and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the White Plains show was the first show I ever did.
Much bigger than my first show. The first expo that I went to was a Mass Reptile Expo when it was in not Hingham. I can't think of the name of the town, but it was in a room like the same size as this room right here, and there was like 10 tables maybe.
That's
and
crazy.
So they had like 8 vendors
there.
Yeah,
right.
And it was just like a couple guys. One guy bred a ball python, a couple people had leopard geckos, and then there was like the rescue, and then the Herp Society table. So it was like a tiny like expo.
Yeah, more like show and tell.
It was show and tell. But I think I got leopard geckos from that expo, and then I grabbed this guy card who had a ball python, a captive bred blackback ball python.
Ooh, the black.
It was $75, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need this thing!" And I wasn't allowed to keep snakes up until then. And so when I went home, I wrote my dad this big long letter about why I should be allowed to keep snakes, and I kept my grades up and my room clean and blah blah blah. And then my dad was like, "You can get a snake." And I was like losing my mind for the next like day and a half. And he was not happy that he said that.
Yeah.
But I still have that snake today. He's still alive today,
Bam.
which is
There
pretty
you
cool.
Go. Bam, Jay Muller popped back in. What's up, Jay Muller? Excited to see you guys. Also, thank you for all the amazing things you do. Love you guys. We love you too, Jay Muller.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being so amazing
and generous
and supportive. We definitely appreciate that. So thank you so much.
And then what would you say like your favorite expo that you've been to is?
It's got to be Tinley, dude. Is it like my first Tinley in particular? I don't even remember when it was. It's like 2016, I think, was the first Tinley I had ever done. And that expo was so special to me just because Tinley was always like the ultimate for reptile shows. Like it was always portrayed as the ultimate reptile show.
Unless I went Germany.
Unless you go to Germany. Yeah. So I went with Lenny and his girlfriend Andrea.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to get the chance to meet people. Now I'll preface it a little bit by saying like I have been at that point in time, quote unquote, out of the game for a little while. With if you know my history and my previous company before Brassman Reptiles was a thing, you kind of understand. Like I went underground a little bit, and so this was like the first big show I was doing. Now that I was like kind of getting myself back in the swing of things, so it was great because I started meeting people who used to watch my old videos. I was finally able to meet some breeders that I had watched for so many years and never really got the chance to ever talk to. And then meeting people like Josh Beatty, who I had talked online with for like literally 10 years and never met the dude. And then finally was able to meet him, and it was like it was just one of the coolest experiences. And Josh and I talked for a while that day, and he was with Mark Petros.
Oh yeah.
And that was cool to meet and chat with Mark a bit, and just see some of the cool stuff that he had over there. But the thing that I took home from that was from the conversation that Josh and I had was like Tinley is like a biannual family reunion.
Yeah.
You know, and usually the October show, if you know Tinley or you hear the stories of Tinley, usually the October show is like the show. So that's like the real family reunion show. But that was like by far the most special reptile show I'd ever been to. How about you?
Yeah. The last Tinley that we just did where I was a guest speaker, that was awesome.
That was
it was really cool. I never thought that I would be able to do something like that, but hey, it happened.
Yeah, dude.
That was really cool. You know, getting to meet so many people who've seen me through the Nerd Channel, and then seeing some people that I kind of looked up to. Hey,
I'm showcasing it. He's a cheap bastard. He didn't super chat, but no, I'm kidding. Steve Tillis is in the house. What's up, man?
Are you going to
Thanks
Daytona,
for popping.
dude?
Yes.
If you missed it earlier, me and Jeremy are both going to be at Daytona
Yeah,
in
so you
August.
better be
you
there.
better be there. I'm
Oh,
just
fuck.
saying, I need to hug you, man. Just saying.
And then thoroughly rinse so we don't cross contaminate anything, because you
Yeah.
know Dr. Tillis.
I'll hug you before we go to the expo, so I don't touch any reptiles yet. I can't actually. You know, I can't promise that because as soon as I get off the airplane, I'm usually trying to catch something. So
That is true. Having flown with Rob, I know that this is accurate.
you're like, we're in Alaska. What are you doing? I'm looking for snakes.
Looking for snakes.
If that ain't me, though.
It's like, dude, they only have salamanders.
Salamander's still cool though.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, the last Tinley that we did in 2019, was that? Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah, 2019. Yep.
That was really cool for me. Just getting to meet a lot of people, you know, catch up with a few people who I, you know, had like casual acquaintances with, and then like I kind of knew from online, but really get to talk to them and get to see some of the animals that people were producing, and that was just like super cool to me. And you know, every time that I've been to Tinley, I always go to the fall show. I always go to the October one. It's always been really special for me, regardless of whether or not I'll be, I was, you know, vending or doing whatever.
Yeah. Steve said he might be there, or he will be there. He might have to carve out a day to
come see that
purple
T-neck
Borneos.
Borneo.
So, listen, Steve. It ain't nothing but a thing, motherfucker.
Ain't no more thing, you know. Go and tell him.
Yeah. Yep. Soldier boy.
That was probably my favorite. And then the first time that I did White Plains Expo, or that I went to the White Plains Expo, was super special to me. I just remember just being in awe of the size of it and the variety that was there. And I was young. I was like maybe, trying to think of how old I was, like maybe 12 or 13 years old. I'd only been keeping reptiles for a while, but like keeping reptiles for a while. Yeah. But I was subscribed to Reptiles magazine in 96, like the year after it came out. Like when I was in first grade, I was subscribed to Reptiles magazine and reading articles in Reptiles magazine because that's what I was interested in.
Fucking overachiever.
I know. There's something wrong with me. I'm not at liberty to say what it is.
We still love you.
Yeah. So, but I literally have Reptiles magazines from 96 when I was subscribing. It's like got my name on it. And it's like, I was reading those things back in the day. So I was into reptiles. I just didn't keep reptiles a whole lot until I was older. I had tarantulas and stuff, but not reptiles.
Yeah.
So when I went to the first White Plains show and saw a live crested gecko in person, I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? Look at the dude who was vending there was super chill. He like let me hold it and everything, and I was like 12-year-old kid, you know?
Yeah, freaking out.
Back then, that was literally the first time I'd ever seen a crested gecko in person, and he was the only person at the show who had them, and I was like, when they stand on you, they like put their palm down and they roll their fingers down on you. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. How are not more people in love with these things? And it's just because, you know, not as many people do, but it was awesome.
There you go. Misfits chimed back in with a super chat. Thank you, Misfits. With the new channel monetization, do you plan to do subscription as well?
Time.
curious.
Everything is due to time.
Yeah, it's
Time constraints right now.
I got the email from you too about doing channel subscriptions and stuff, or channel memberships, whatever the hell it's called. It's something that I need to look into to try to do. My biggest thing is this is the most consistent content that I put out, and while it's awesome and I love you guys for supporting it and all that, I also want to be able to make sure I have time to put out videos and video content, and that's quite challenging. I'm also horrible at editing videos, so after having Donnie do some of the edits for me for my first few videos, I want to make sure that I get like some good
Nice
quality edits done. So I have to reach out to a buddy of mine who's a video editor and see if he can do some stuff with me, and we'll work that out. So potentially at some point I might kind of have it available, but I want to make sure that I can give you guys some really good content. So in the meantime, the most consistent thing will of course be the podcast, and I appreciate everybody that supports it, and all of you guys that come hang out with us every week. I appreciate it, sometimes multiple times a week.
Yeah, I appreciate it too.
Yeah. So yeah, and we've got some cool stuff coming. I don't want to give too many secrets away, but we're hoping to talk with Garrick DeMeyer pretty soon from Royal Constrictor Design.
I'm so pumped about that, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just watching some of his videos today, and it was just getting me kind of amped up because he's always had some really cool stuff. So I just want to make sure that I'm able to provide you guys with as much cool content as possible, because you guys are literally out here helping support our addiction. So but definitely appreciate it. Craig's Reptile Studio just jumped back in, and I know Rob really likes the high black jungle stuff, so I figured I would highlight that really quick. This chat is super, but not that super. Did you get your high black jungle from Scott?
Did I talk about that yet? I don't know if I talked
I
about
don't know
that
if
yet.
you talked about that.
I did buy one, but I have not got her in yet because I'm not in a rush. I don't know, Scott. The weather has been insane in New England recently. It's literally been like, oh, we're gonna do 97 one day and like 100% humidity, and then the next like 2 days it's in the 50s, and it's just been all over the place.
It's really been crazy.
So I was like, dude, look, it's paid for. It's all paid for. Whenever it's safest, that's when I'll take her. I am not in a rush to get this snake. I don't want to risk its life. I don't care if I have to, wait until I can take a weekend off and then drive out and get it. I don't care. I will do whatever is safest for the snake. And he's cool with holding to it until the weather's safer. So I was like, dude, no rush. He sent me some pictures. I was like, you don't even need to send me pictures. I was like, just pick whatever black one you got that's a girl, and I'll take that one. So I'm pretty cool. I do have a couple pictures of her. I haven't decided whether or not I want to post them yet. I don't know. But I did get one from Scott. I have a plan going forward to get more, like maybe one or two more blacker jungles.
Some carpet pythons in your future, huh?
Yeah, just because I don't know. I keep looking at that dude from Australia who's got those really black jungles, and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
and the thing is, I was looking at a couple people hatched out some stuff, and they had like zebras and this and that, and I was like, I don't really want the morphs. I kind of just want whatever the blackest jungles I can get are.
Yeah. I'm very, I mean, obviously we have some morph stuff, but like, I don't want to go crazy with the morphs on the carpets. Like I think I originally wanted to.
I want to get an axanthic to breed into those black jungles.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
into the ocelot.
Absolutely.
Just because.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black and white. Come on. If it's like a really black and very yellow animal, when you make it silver, it's going to be silver and black.
Yeah,
and it's just going to look freaking awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when I was first kind of like jumping back into carpets, I was like really gung-ho about morphs, and now I've kind of like been able to focus on what I want to do with them. So I'm like, all right, I've got my zebra stuff, but my main focus is obviously with the jungle stuff, the ocelot stuff. So that's certainly like where I've been tailoring my focus a little bit. So
yeah, I thank you for asking, I guess.
There you go. Now that means I have to sell some snakes.
I don't even have anything to sell yet.
Wait, but maybe at a reptile expo.
Oh, hey. But yeah, so we did want to touch on a couple different subjects regarding reptile expos or surrounding reptile expos, because a lot of people at their first expo, they're overwhelmed because if you've never been to a reptile expo before, it's just like aisles and aisles of just supplies and snakes, and lizards and sometimes turtles, but frogs and tarantulas, and you see these species that you have never seen in person before. Like, I wish that I had gone through and just counted how many different species were at the most recent Manchester show.
There's actually quite a bit.
There was a pretty good variety.
Diversity.
If I had to guess, I'd say there was probably, at not counting spiders, because every spider, there's probably like 200 spider species there.
Sheesh.
But not including those or like the arachnids or whatever. Of snakes, I'd say there was probably a good 40 species of snakes there, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And probably another 50 or 60 species of lizards there.
And most of them were at Alan Both's table.
Yes. Yeah. Major League Exotics. He had a good variety.
He did have a good variety. Yeah. No, I was actually quite surprised at the amount of diversity that was there, but also happy that it wasn't just ball pythons.
Yeah, for real.
Because that has been what a lot of shows in our area have been for quite some time.
Is that Randall Peggy's? Hey man.
It is. What's up, dude?
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was certainly surprised.
Yeah, and it's like, so when I was younger, they only did our local New Hampshire Reptile Expo twice a year. They did it once in the spring and once in the fall, and they've moved up to doing it like every other month now, so it's a little bit more regular. But when I used to go, it was like I used to just sit there and just dream. I'd be like, okay, what species are people going to have? Or is anyone going to have Amazon tree boas? Is anyone going to have this specific kind of Amazon tree boa that I'm interested in? Are anyone going to have blood pythons? Just thinking. And then now a lot of people are posting what they're bringing to expos online, groups for the expo, or whatever. Like Tinley's got a group where like people who are vending be like, hey, look, this is a preview of what I'm going to have at the expo, so you can kind of get an expectation of what table you might want to go to, what you might want to go check out. But sometimes you just got to go looking, and it's kind of like that treasure hunting kind of mindset you got to have, because if you go in and you're just like, oh, I just want to look around and see whatever, that's cool. But if you're like, oh, I'm looking for this one species or this one morph, every time you go to a new table, it's like, oh my goodness, are they gonna have it? Or is the next table gonna have it? And when I went to Manchester recently and I got a chance to sneak away from the table and look around, there was like these gorgeous Mata turtles there, and I was just like, oh my goodness, look at those things. They're incredible. They just had like this amazing coloration, and
those were quite spectacular.
Really nice. And then there was like a tiger rat snake at somebody's table, like kind of tucked into all their displays and stuff. And every time I see something like that, I'm like, man, I'm so glad that I actually like peeked and looked in, because I loved seeing tiger rat snakes. And if I had just been cruising and going, oh, they got ball pythons, go to the next table, blah blah blah, you might miss something that you might have been interested in. When I was younger, that used to happen to me a lot, because I used to be like 5 ball pythons on the table, onto the next one. I used to just like walk away, and my friends would come back and they'd be like, do you see that blood python over on that table? I was like, what blood python on the table? And I would go back over there. I'm like, oh, they had 6 ball pythons on the table, that's why I didn't see it.
Yep. And you're like, oh, I left.
Yeah. But when you go to the expos, some expos are really good at screening out some of the kind of crappy vendors. So like you get the herps shows down in the central southern part of the United States.
Yep.
I've heard really good things that they just screen people right out. If you bring trash, that's it. You won't even get to your table. They'll deny you right up front and just tell you, nope, you're not doing that. That's not how it goes. NARBC shows are pretty good about keeping people from bringing junk, stuff that is fresh out of the box from the wild, and people throw it in a deli cup and put it on the table. They try to avoid
nix
that sort of stuff. So the NARBC shows and the herp shows are great for that. The show me shows, I've heard really great things, that they really take care of their vendors, and they try and hold themselves to like a higher standard when it comes to what people are putting on display and what people are showing at these shows. And then some other shows, maybe not so much.
Like what shows, Ralph?
Maybe it might rhyme with Schmeptishman, but I'm not here to
I've already called him out, so I don't care. Repticon.
Yeah.
We're talking about Repticon.
Yeah, there's actually been a lot of drama going on surrounding the Repticon shows recently, but not treating their vendors great. Bob Vu is kind of like a bigger guy, a bigger breeder down south, and they kind of shoved him in a corner and didn't really give him a real like a prominent spot like he typically would have at the expo. And when he asked them about it, they were like, oh, well, tough shit. And
yeah, they did the same thing when I went down to the Atlanta show with Lucas and his mom. They were vending, and they had done a bunch of posts on where their table was going to be. Like they had already gotten it, and then like the day before the show, they moved her table, and they put her like all the way in the back. And she was like, whoa, 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 what the hell? I've already done all this promotion and like told people where my table was going to be. Now that's not a thing. And they're like, well, it is what it is. And she like bitched big time. And they comped the table fee, which I mean, I guess is a small victory, but like, she's like, that's so fucked.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, you got to figure what the goal of a reptile expo is, because there's several goals and kind of tasks that have to be met at a reptile expo. One, as a person who runs a reptile expo, you want people through the door. You want people to, you got to get heads through the door so that one, your vendors can make money, and two, so that you can make money, because people who come through the door are spending money to get into the door, and then they're probably buying supplies, maybe animals and things like that. So you want a good, nice head count so that you can pay your bills, and so that potentially vendors can pay their bills. Sometimes it's just a bunch of people who are just looking around, and there's nothing you can do as a show promoter to kind of curve that. Sometimes that just happens, and it's it is what it is. With the more frequency of reptile expos, I see that way more. When I used to go when our shows up here used to be twice a year, people would save up their money for 6 months and then go to the reptile expo and buy stuff, because that was their one opportunity to get feeders, to get supplies, to get that new snake that they were looking for. And with the birth of the internet and people buying stuff online, and I'll just meet up with someone, contact them off the internet or whatever. I'll contact them on Facebook and just meet up with them. It's definitely led to shows, at least up here, being tougher for vendors to make money at. And then the other thing that you got to think about if you are running a show is that you want your vendors to do well, because if your vendors are not making money to be able to cover the cost of a hotel if they're traveling, the cost of the tables, because tables are expensive. A lot of shows, the tables start at like $100. They're $80 to $100 is like base price for a lot of shows for one table. So if you got 3-4 tables, that adds up really quickly. And if you only sell one snake for $300 and you paid for a hotel room and 4 tables and this and that, after
the walk of shame.
Yeah, you do that twice and you're like, I don't want to do reptile expos anymore because it's not worth it to me. I can stay at home and I'll sell them online. And then the people who end up coming to the shows and vending are people who, nothing against people who have one clutch or anything like that. But as the people who have more variety are like, look, it's not worth it for me to come. You're getting more people who are just doing like a couple things here and a couple things there. And then that makes it so that the people who are walking through the door are not able to see as much variety. And it makes it less interesting for the average person to just come to the expo, because if they just see, oh, well, this person did 1 clutch of ball pythons, that person did a clutch of ball pythons, this person did 2 breedings of leopard geckos, and that's all they see at the expo. It makes it less interesting for people. So it's this, you got to keep this happy balance of, you want your big vendors to come back, you want the people to be spending money, you want people to be making money at the expo, and those are all things you have to balance as a promoter, as a person who runs a show. You want those things to go smoothly. Like when I was president of the Maine Herpetological Society, and I told them that I was moving the Maine Reptile Expo from the area where they had it to a different location. It was met with a lot of hesitation. It was a big move. It was a bigger space. It was going to cost us more money. And there was a lot of concerns about, the viability of it. And I was like, look, the place that I had moved it to was across the street from Maine Mall, which is like a big area where a lot of people are driving by every single day. We were going to have access to promote on the main drag, the main road right there, so people could see that they could come to the Reptile Expo for the couple days leading up to it. We could have signs on the road directing people into the expo. And at the end of the day, when we were wrapping things up, I went around to every single vendor and I asked them, how did you do today? Did you make money today? And every single one of them said that they made really good money and they want to do it again. And that's what you want to hear. And there's, not every show promoter does that, where they go around and and ask each vendor how they do.
Yeah.
Personally, I do whenever I go to an expo, even if I'm not promoting it or running it or whatever. I go up to everyone and I as many people as I can, and I ask them how they did at the expo, because that's a huge deciding factor of whether or not people are going to want to come back and do it again.
Absolutely. Riz, I'm sorry, my screen is angled, so I need to see that. Solana. I totally just butchered that. I'm so sorry. Going to my first local show this weekend to prep myself before going to Tinley in October. I'm more nervous for this weekend because I don't know the show. You're gonna have a great time. You're absolutely gonna have a great time. It's Tinley. The October Tinley show can be a madhouse, just with the sheer number of people that are through the door. But the most important thing, pace yourself. You don't have to see everything in one day.
Legit.
Walk. That's the nice thing about it being a 2-day show. And if you get your
VIP passes, I cannot stress enough. Get a freaking VIP pass. Go in vendor setup. You'll get the stuff before everybody else, and you don't have to deal with the giant crowds of people in front of every single booth. If an expo gives you the opportunity to get VIP passes, get the VIP passes.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're gonna have a blast. The local shows, I love local shows just from the standpoint of like you get to meet the people that are in your area or somewhat in your area that share similar interests, and you can kind of build your foundational network of reptile lovers that way. So I think you're gonna have a great time. And if you are at Tinley, look for me, maybe look for Rob. We'll talk about if we're gonna be there.
If I'm gonna be there, I'll have my pinwheel hat. My beanie with the pinwheel on top. I'll wear that.
I just want to highlight this comment really quick from Sasquatch. Brass and Reptiles, thank you for hatching my buddy. Tormond, he's almost 3 and over 5 feet long. Great lizard. Hey, I'm glad you are enjoying him. Let's see. There's another super here from Greg's Reptile Studio. Rob, I hope I didn't spoil anything.
It's okay. I would have talked about it eventually. I've got other stuff going on in behind the scenes, and I haven't talked about everything yet. It's okay.
Yeah. Boom.
I don't even think I've talked about it on the podcast yet, but I've got eggs in the incubator. So
it's true. He does. We've been neglecting our OnlyFans.
Yeah, I gotta.
Sorry,
do that.
guys. Yeah, cool. You got a carpet from Adam Harris. That's awesome.
Cool.
Love Adam Harris. We do got to get Adam on the podcast.
We haven't done an episode with him yet.
No, we have not. I think it would actually be really funny.
It'd be hilarious
because it's Adam.
We got to do it from inside the rhino iguana enclosure.
Hello.
Hey, hello. Slides the glass.
Oh my gosh, Adam Harris. If you didn't see the video that I put up from us going down to Adam Harris's shop, go check it out. It's here on my YouTube channel. It's worth the view for the laughs. For the laughs. And now I can get 3 cents for every ad that you
click
that you
on.
sit through.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think it's the local show scene is one of those things. We don't have too many shows up here in like our neck of the woods. We've got the Manchester show. Does the main show still happen?
Yep. Yeah. The main show is the last weekend of August, always.
Okay. So you've got those 2 shows, and you've got the Massachusetts show.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to go all the way down to New York, you can hit up the New York shows and the
White
PA
Plains,
shows.
Long Island.
Yeah. But they're pretty spread out.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I do like about Southern reptile living is the shows are happening way more consistently. And that community is very tight knit. So it's like, oh, here's a show in North Carolina, here's a show in South Carolina, here's a show in Tennessee, here's a show in Georgia, here's a show in Florida. So you can hit in 4 or 5 states. You could probably hit 8 different shows. Because it's a lot of. It's not just one show in the state. It's like regional shows within a state, especially larger states. So I think that's kind of cool because it gives you an opportunity. Like for us, the PA show, the Hamburg show is 5 hours.
It's like 6.5. Yeah.
So 6.5 hours. That's a long show, or a long drive to a show, especially when the show is only about 6 or 8 hours.
People in Texas are like, ha ha ha! I drive for 6 hours. I'm still in the same state.
Yeah. But somebody who's like, oh, I live in southern Georgia, but there's a show in northern Georgia. Well, if you wait 2 weeks, there's a show in southern Georgia. So if you want to make the haul, great, but you don't have to. You're going to be able to see a lot of the similar people. But you don't have to worry about dealing with that drive. So local shows, if you're in the southern U.S. and the Midwest seems to do a lot of the same stuff. I don't really know about the West Coast, but just having a lot of those like tight knit shows really kind of packed and condensed in an area is kind of nice. Just so you don't have to worry about making a long haul. Especially if you are a vendor and you already have to wake up at the crack of dawn to pack your vehicle and then whatever. Dude, I do not miss the packing for Tinley from here
to
my drive
goodness.
16 hours.
17 and a half hours.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot.
A lot of driving.
So we literally are like on the road for a day, like literally watching the sun come up and go down while we're still in the car.
Still in the car.
I am not a fan. Having also just done that drive twice in 2 weeks from here to North Carolina, I've watched the sun rise and set too many times from my car.
From the highway.
From
the
highway,
road.
yeah. On the road again.
Yeah, Lordy.
I want to give a quick shout out because he just popped up in the comments. Derek's Reptiles.
Hey.
What's going on, man? He's got an awesome podcast, and he's been getting some ridiculous people on his podcast. He had Brian Barczyk, Tom Crutchfield, Ty Park, which Brian, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Brian. We talked about you doing the Reptile Talk podcast a long time ago, Brian. Brian Barczyk. I'm talking to you, Mr. Brian Barczyk, whose wife is Lori Barczyk and his son is Noah Barczyk.
He's name dropping right now.
I'm 100% name dropping. No, but shout out to Derek's Reptiles. Make sure you go show him some love.
That's right.
Definitely mad respect, bro. Appreciate everything you're doing. But yeah, is there a show that you absolutely want to get to before this year is up?
I can't. This year is too much for me. I can't this year is just going to be too much for me. I already know it, so I'm not trying to take on more than I can handle.
Okay, so the
Daytona.
next year.
Oh yeah.
I'm
100% doing. If California starts opening super shows again, I'm going to a freaking super show. I don't care.
So we'll be at a super show next year.
Yeah, next year, 2022. If California opens up super shows, I need to do that in the worst kind of way. And then I do want to make Daytona a regular thing where I do it every year.
I want to do that with Daytona and the October Tinleys.
Exactly. Daytona, October Tinley. And then if I can hit a super show just to say that I did it, cool. And then I really, really, really want to hit on Arlington show and ARBC show.
Yes. I was so bummed with the amount of people who were asking us if we were doing the Arlington show.
Yeah.
I was so bummed that we couldn't actually do it.
Yeah.
Just because it sounded like it was such a great time. It looked like it was such a great time. So hopefully 2022 is going to be a show. And you know the best part about them? Well, it doesn't really matter for you, but it's a business write-off.
Oh yeah, for taxes.
That's a business trip, bitch.
Tax exemption.
Yep, exactly. I was at when when I was teaching and performing full time, I would we'd go out to eat or whatever, and I would be like, quick, somebody say something musical, something about music, and they're all like, why? I'm like, so I can write this thing off. I just need to feel good about my life that I'm doing it. So I'll do the same thing with reptile related things. Like, is this a reptile show? Are we going out to a reptile show before I book this trip? Is this a reptile show?
Right
okay,
now.
Perfect. Bam, stamped it. Tax exempt. The joys of owning a business.
Oh my goodness.
Rob's like, I just breed a couple snakes.
Yeah, literally.
Man.
Oh boy.
Rob, I got this collection that's about to be built in North Carolina that needs your attention.
Yeah.
Can you come run this collection for me, Rob?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
But
yeah, full time. There we go. Where were we talking about? I can't remember what we were talking about.
Got so off track there.
Okay, expos that we want to go to.
Yes,
so,
expos we want to go.
I regularly want to do the Daytona show. I want to do the October Tinley show. I would like to do March, but if March doesn't happen, I go to Tinley for the people and for the reptiles, which is why the March show is like because everyone hasn't hatched any of their stuff out. So you like get the stragglers from last season, the babies that didn't sell from last season, or maybe a holdback that someone was like, maybe I'll sell it, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
And then it's less variety as far as the snakes go. It's still cool to see people, but the reptiles are still what gets my blood going. So
Absolutely.
the October show is just better for me. It's just better in my opinion. Everyone's got their babies hatched out. His stuff is eating, stuff's for sale and everything. So I definitely am looking forward to that. And then, like I said, this year, I don't know if it's going to happen. Next year, I plan on doing more stuff more regularly, traveling a little bit more regularly, doing a little bit more field herping. So that's on the docket for next year.
Hell yeah, man. I'm so with that. I definitely want to be able to travel more for reptile related things. I've been lucky to be able to do so much traveling for music, especially during the pandemic, but I'm looking forward to actually being able to travel to shows, see people that I haven't seen in a couple of years, just because it's work has been crazy, and and then that pandemic that we went through, the pandemic,
Pandemic.
that's it. But yeah, so I'm definitely very excited about that. Rob, is there? I think we have to talk about this because we did it once before. What's one of your worst Reptile Expo experiences as a vendor?
As a vendor.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the one that always sticks out as my mind as like it wasn't like bad, it was just stupid, is that I was vending with Jason Chapman from up in Maine, and we had like blood pythons and Brazilian rainbow boas and like a bunch of different stuff on our table, like a good variety of stuff. We were a small shop, but we like to have a good variety of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had a sunbeam snake on the table, and this kid comes up and he's like, "Hey, that snake right there, I want to take it out, I want to hold it." And I was like, they're like a little sensitive. I usually don't let people hold them. Just, they stress out pretty easily. And, they're not like, if you just keep ball pythons, they're not like for you. Like, I don't know how many snakes you got, but they're not an intro snake. And the kid was like, "Dude, I work with snakes every single day. I've got, carpet pythons, and I've got ball pythons, and I'm looking at getting a reticulated python, and I know what the hell I'm doing." I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "I am interested in buying it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I open up the container, take it out, hand it to him, and it's like, slithering and being darty and weird in his hands. And he looks at me and goes, "So what kind of rainbow boa is this?" And I was like, "What?" What? I was like, what?
So let's go back to that part where you said you knew what the hell you were doing.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, "I thought you said you knew what you were doing. That is a sunbeam snake and not a rainbow boa." And he was like, oh, I knew it was a sunbeam snake. And I was like, "You had no fucking clue." Don't you lie to me now. Don't you backpedal.
Damn.
That was just like, don't lie to me. Like, don't lie to me. It's funny when people think they can like one up you. They're like, "Oh, I know a thing," and they just tell you the wrong information. And you're like, "You understand that I do know this information, right? You might be able to BS this with the people that you work with who have got a bearded dragon. You cannot BS with me."
No.
It was bad. That, or when I went to Hamburg and I brought candy bacon cupcakes and everyone kept turning them down because they didn't have weed in them. Those are the two worst things that's happened to me at an expo. I made 75 cupcakes and I think 10 people took some. It was terrible. Oh my God.
Oh man. I've got an interesting expo experience, but I want to highlight this comment really quick because I absolutely love it. Every time the like button gets smashed, a PETA member gets eaten by an alligator. I'm so here for that. So please make sure you smash that like button and get all of the PETA members eaten by alligators. Thank you, Derek. Okay, so one of my it wasn't really bad. I've been really fortunate. I haven't really had very many bad expo experiences, but one expo experience that constantly sticks out in my brain was a White Plains show. And it was a White Plains show that Kevin was vending many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had produced some spinner blasty, Enchi spinner blast kind of stuff, whatever. So I had some cool ball pythons for the time. That was when they were still, between $300 and $500 for those morphs. So it was like, ooh. But Kevin kept coming over to my table with different people holding a Spinner Blast bald.
Mm-hmm.
And on my table, I had a Spinner Blast.
He's like, you see how ugly that is?
Yes,
That's
for the whole show. He was
Ah.
bringing people, and he was like, "So you want to know what bald is?" And there's no context. So the first time it happened, I didn't know what the hell was going on. So Kevin like came by and like he said hello and whatever, and we chatted for a little bit, and then he carried on. And then out of nowhere, he just brings this person over. And he like points at the Spinner Blast on my table and is like, see all the speckling on that? Yeah, you don't want that. You want this. And like shows the Spinner Blast ball that is like very clean and very saturated. And I was like, what is this a joke? And he's like, no, but he doesn't want that. And I was like,
ouch.
damn, Kev. And he did it like 5 times. I was like, you having problems selling that damn thing, even though it's really clean? I was just like, damn it, Kevin. I wanted to take off my table to have him come by one time and be like, sold, sorry.
That would have been hilarious.
I should have done, in hindsight, I should have done that, but oh my God, that was absolutely ridiculous. I was like, why would you do that? But yeah, I it's fun now because like over the last couple of years being here at Nerd, I've been able to throw the jabs kind of back at him, and he's like, what's your problem? I'm like, you don't remember what happened 8 years ago, do you, buddy? I still remember. I've held on to this grudge. Yeah, that was quite the interesting show. And then people kept coming up to me like, why does Kevin keep bringing people over to your table if he's not showing them any of your snakes? And I was like, because he's showing them that his snakes are better. That's basically what's happening.
What a pal.
Now I just kind of want to be like, Kev, I think you've produced enough of these to show what one with bald and one without bald looks like. So keep them at your own fucking table.
I think it's funny. A couple of people who I've met more recently through Nerd, or here and there, I just talk to them, or I've met them in person when we're parting ways or ending our conversation. They're like, "Oh man, it was so nice to meet you," and they go to shake my hand, and I'm like, "Actually, I've met you 3 times before." And I'm just like, "This is my second or third time meeting you, but okay."
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
I don't hold it against them necessarily, because I mean, it's happened to me before where at expos I'll meet somebody like real quick, and then I'll meet them again and actually I get to have a conversation with them, and then I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And they're like, you met me at the last expo, and I'm like, I did meet you at the last expo.
Damn.
Very briefly. I try not to do that though. I'm pretty good at remembering people's, at least their faces.
Yeah.
Not always names. But I thought that, the ears and the tattoos and everything, I thought that would maybe make me a little memorable, but I guess not.
Yeah, you're pretty memorable, Rob.
That's okay.
Amy B, happy to catch the live. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Amy. We definitely appreciate that. We're happy you're here.
We are very glad you're here.
Thank you
just
so
paid
much
for our ramen for the month. I appreciate that. It's probably more. That's probably more than 1 month's worth of ramen.
Maybe so.
Thank you.
We're eating good.
That pays our StreamYard thing.
That's true for 2 months.
For 2 months.
Actually,
thank you.
We definitely appreciate that, Amy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. But yeah, there's been some fun expo times.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? So kind of going back to that like meeting people multiple times thing. With the number of people that I communicate with just on a day-to-day basis, I am horrible at names and faces. Like unless I'm seeing you or talking to you very consistently, it takes forever for everything to like register in my brain. And I tell people all the time, like, look, I'm horrible at names. It will take me a while to remember you. I used to tell it to my students all the time, because my high school band director would memorize all the students' names. And there were hundreds of students in the band.
Yeah,
and
I had a couple teachers like that.
I remember like my senior year when I was like the band president or whatever, and I'm like going to all of the classes, meeting them, like, don't expect me to do what he does.
Yeah, don't.
It's not happening.
That's not happening.
So yeah, so I tell people like, I'm so sorry if I forget your name. I'm horrible with names, whatever. And there's been a couple times where there's been people who've like come to Nerd and like, hey, Jeremy, and I'm like, hey, man, how's it going?
How are you doing?
That's the default.
Yeah.
The default. I think I get that from my dad, because my dad, if you've met my father, but he doesn't remember meeting you.
Hey, buddy.
No, his go-to of, hey, Chief.
Ah.
That's how I know, because that's the tell that he doesn't remember who they are. Just, hey, Chief. I'm like, dude, that's my buddy. That's my buddy, Tom. That's Tom. He's been here like 60 times.
Dude.
Love you, Dad.
Yeah, my dad does that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been dating this person for 3 years. And he's like, it's nice to meet you. And I'm like, oh, it's
my
so good.
gosh.
So good.
Man. I want to look at this comment. We can kind of, I guess, maybe close on this because we're about that hour mark. Do you guys know why women are rioting in the hobby on social media? I got the gist that a plus size woman got talked down to or something, and not all women in the hobby are pissed. And now all the women in the hobby are pissed. Sorry, I misread that. I have not seen anything about that. I don't know anything about that, but something that we've talked about, it's come up in a podcast either that we've done or that one of us was a guest on. I don't remember. We were talking about like sexism
In the hobby.
in the hobby. It certainly is a real thing, and you know, I mean, the world is a shitty place. Sometimes there's no way to kind of smooth that or sugarcoat that at all, you know. So I don't know the context. I'm sure it'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure that someone else is going to message it to me at some point. I saw someone posted on Instagram a thing that just said, you know, we need to respect women in the hobby. And I didn't get filled in on what the context was for that. I have seen women in the hobby get treated poorly or treated like they don't know what they're talking about, just because they're women, which is like absurd, because I know a lot of women who are like probably smarter than a lot of dudes that I know that are in the hobby. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. True.
And it's a bummer that people approach things like that, because it's really not fair to a lot of these women who are super passionate about just as passionate or more passionate than some of the guys that are in this freaking hobby,
absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And you know, Dominica Falco has got the Modern Medusa podcast. She pretty much I think she just exclusively interviews women in the hobby and surrounding reptiles and exotics and stuff like that. So if you haven't checked out her podcast, you need to go check it out. And I've seen a couple other podcasts getting women on their podcast, which is like awesome. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
I've had a couple people message me and be like, wow, you guys are like, you've had a couple women on your podcast already, and you guys have only been around for a year. And I'm like, well, I'm friends with a lot of the women in the hobby. Like, I'm actual friends with them, and not just like, hey
toots, little lady,
hey toots. Like, that's not me. Like, I'm actually friends with people, and
hey toots.
I know a lot of women who are diehard reptile fans, and that's what I'm into. If someone comes and talks to me and they're a reptile fan, I don't care whether you're a woman, a man, non-binary, gender fluid. I don't care. You are all cool to me as long as you like reptiles.
That's it.
And so I think that a lot of women are completely justified in being upset with how they're being treated in the hobby. And, you know, it's like, was it Puget Sound Pythons is a couple that runs that. And I was listening to them on an episode that they did. I think it was with NPR, or it might have been when she was on the Modern Medusa podcast. But she was talking about when they vend expos, and people's first instinct is to go up and talk to the guy, and they're like, he's like, oh no,
like,
go.
This is the same with like Dave and Tracy Barker.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my.
Everybody
goodness.
goes right to talk to Dave, and it's like,
talk to Tracy. It just shows if you don't go up and talk to Tracy, you probably don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. Shout out to Dave and Tracy Barker.
Yeah, for real. I would love to have them on. They don't do social media stuff, but if I could interview, I would love to interview Tracy. She's such a cool person.
We should ask her anyway. I'm just saying.
I know a couple people who have reached out to her, like bigger people than us, and she's like, no.
She won't do it at all?
Yeah.
Damn.
We can. I mean, there's no harm in asking, but
we should ask. And be like, hey, you sent us that 7 pepper Borneo. It's the least you could do. It's the least you
He's
could do.
so spicy.
Listen,
He's
okay,
so spicy.
I went to refill his water bowl the other day,
Yep.
and he gave me the side eye, and I noticed he was going in the shed, so I dumped the water out in the cage just to raise the humidity.
Yep.
As I'm dumping it, he strikes into the water bowl and
Smacks it.
splashes
Yep.
it everywhere.
Hey.
And I was like, Opa.
Borneo things.
Oh man. So I think she owes us
I would love to have
7
her on.
pepper Borneo. Least we can get is an hour of your time, Tracy.
That would be awesome. That would be so cool.
Maybe we can see.
But
And
going
yeah.
back to that, I think it is. Oh my goodness, I'm totally blanking right now. But there's an all women's reptile keeper Facebook group. So if you are a woman in the reptile hobby, you should join it. I think they've got over 1,000 or they got a lot of members. Hold on, I'm gonna actually look it up because they've got a lot of members in there, like at least 1,000. I thought it was a couple.
Absolutely.
Thousand,
I think the other important thing to kind of take in with this as well as social media, especially this happened over social media, it's just a nasty place, or it can be a really nasty place. So not to say, oh, just don't worry about it because it happened on social media. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what we give energy to, or what we feed into, we energize. So again, not to say that we don't want to pay attention to it, because obviously it is a problem in the industry and we want to continuously bring awareness to that. But we also want to just be like, okay, look, if that person's seriously doing that kind of stuff, like, cut them out. You know what I mean? Like, stop patronizing their business if they are a breeder or whatever. Like, there are ways that you can
vote with your dollar. I'm just saying.
Exactly. There are ways that you can kind of cut the iceberg a little bit so that they kind of get ostracized. So again, not to say we don't want to talk about it, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But we can certainly just be a little mindful of how much attention we bring this, because there's been plenty of instances, especially over the last year, of random social media nonsense and insanity, and that always gets the attention because it's like, I can't believe this happened. Look at this, and meanwhile, anything that's really positive or wonderful happening in the industry doesn't get the same kind of attention. And it was something that I talked about previously when we talked about US ARC months ago, how when the I think it was the Michigan or Illinois ban on educational things popped up, it got more shares in just a couple of hours than the US ARC Florida posts had gotten in a week. And the Florida thing was like being voted on like 10 days later or whatever, or just a couple weeks later. And that's one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, we are missing the point on what we want to pay attention to and really energize so that we get as much steam behind it as possible. In some instances, you want to maybe make a push to talk about something that's negative, but then take the next step, which is, okay, well, instead of just bitching, how are you actually going to fix the problem? Is it somebody that we just are like, hey, don't entertain this human being because they're not great at all. Like Rob just said, vote with your dollar. So I think that's an important thing, because we do like to bitch and talk about shitty things, but then all we ever do is bitch, and we don't actually necessarily take action to achieve a certain goal. And that's not just in the industry, that's just kind of like as a whole. So it's definitely important, at least in my eyes, that we take the steps necessary after we make people aware of what's actually going on, that we're actually taking those steps. So if it happened in person and then got talked about later, that's ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. And whoever that person is, especially if it happened in person, should get like destroyed.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous that we're in 2021 and this sort of stuff is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to speak up. Like, people need to just speak up when they see something wrong happening. And it's one thing if a woman steps up and defends herself and everything, but it's also on the guys in the hobby too, to you see someone being sexist against a woman or talking down to her like she doesn't know what she's doing, and that this woman, the woman is into reptiles. You can't let that shit speak. You gotta speak up. You gotta say something. I've literally been in situations where I've had to be like, hey, look, that is not cool. Like, that's not how this is going down. We're not talking about that sort of stuff. That's just not right. And it is what it is. And if it hurts people's feelings, that's what hey, I'm sorry that they are sick and can't handle people calling them out on their bullshit.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's that. Well, Rob, I think this about wraps it up. This
Jeremy,
one's been a fun one.
This has been a pretty interesting one. We've been all over the place.
We have been all over the place, and partly thanks to you people for super chatting.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate that. I totally forgot that was even an option. So thank you guys so much for your super chats. We definitely appreciate it. It does help keep this thing alive and going, because it does cost us some money to make it happen. So
yes,
we do definitely appreciate that. But yeah,
Jeremy.
Yes.
What right now in the realm of reptiles has got you excited about reptiles?
You know what? I am super excited that my personal breeding season is going quite well.
You've got super chocolate hypo?
I do. I've got a couple super chocolate hypos that I just cut yesterday, the day before. Some
carpet python.
Yeah, hatched out some jungles. I've got some breadlie getting ready to hatch out at the end of this month. I'm pretty stoked about that. I've got 5 ball python clutches with this clutch that I just cut that are out, with some more on the way. And like I said, the breadlie clutch. And compared to last season, that was a mess because I had to move reptiles around the house halfway through the breeding season, so I only produced like 3 clutches in total. This year I think I've got like 12 clutches, so certainly not my best season on my track record, but way better than what it was last year, so I'm going to take that and enjoy it. And I've already hit some pretty cool things for ball pythons, so yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to feel like I'm doing things again.
Hell yeah.
With this Snicks. Yeah.
So Jeremy, if people want to find out more about you, where are they going to do it?
So if you want to find out more,
you're on the Brassman Reptiles YouTube channel right now.
Yeah. So if you want to find out more about what I have going on, obviously right here is the Brassman Reptiles YouTube channel. Thank you guys for checking it out and hanging out. Hopefully I will have more content coming to you guys soon. There's some things that are going on that are going to keep me quite preoccupied over the next couple of months. More details on that coming soon. But in the meantime, I'm super active on my Instagram right now. So go check out my Instagram at Brassman Reptiles. I just posted some pictures of some holdbacks from this year's ball python breedings already. So you can go check that out. It's some cool stuff. But yeah, Instagram has been getting like all of my attention, and my Facebook is connected to my Instagram. So go check out my Instagram at Brassman Reptiles. And of course, again, here on YouTube at Brassman Reptiles. Rob, what about you? Where can people find you?
Check me out on Instagram. I just passed 8,000 subscribers on whatever the hell it is, followers on Instagram. That's cool, I guess.
You're almost at the point to swipe up.
Hey, what am I going to tell people to swipe up on? I could be
to the Reptile Talk podcast.
Yes, I'll do that. Okay.
Duh.
That's a goal. I got that. Okay. I'll look forward to it now.
See, there you go.
It's crazy because I really haven't been posting too much on there. I just post on my story. I like to post memes on my story. And so I've mostly been posting on my story. I really haven't been posting anything on my account for the last couple of days, but I still have been jumping up. Like I got 100 subscribers over the last week or something. And I really haven't, I posted one picture of a snake. And I was what the hell is going on right now? What is going on right now?
Dude, so I'll throw this out there. So I did one of the clutches that I had recently hatched was a pin EMG clown that I bred to a pied. And so it's just a whole bunch of double het clown pied stuff. But I have a pin EMG double het clown pied that hatched. And so I did a little YouTube live discussing the difference between just a pin double het and a pin EMG double het and what that looks like. And it's closing in on 20,000 views right now, which I was not expecting at all. I figured like 200 people are going to watch this and whatever. And it has far surpassed that. It's closing in on 20,000 views and 800 likes. or whatever. Yeah, so I'm actually very excited about that. So if you want to learn about the EMG gene in ball pythons, go check out my Instagram.
Hey. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, Rob's Creeping It Real. Don't add me on Facebook. And I don't know what other, I don't really use, I've got a TikTok. I haven't posted anything on TikTok. Instagram's the only thing I'm really doing a lot of right now. It's just Instagram.
Fair enough.
Check me out
Boom.
on Instagram, Rob's Creeping It Real. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.